Island. This is Joaquin, works at Bulls.
How's it going?
Got a couple bikes out here today. Really awesome bikes, full suspension, electric mountain bikes. This is the Bulls Copperhead Evo AM3, and the AM is talking about all mountain, 150 millimeters of travel, front and rear Fox suspension. This is a Fox 36 float rhythm, 36 millimeter black anodized stanchions. Really nice. So 36 millimeters being a little bit thicker, right? And that's gonna reduce stiction. It makes it burly, strong, and it supports the boost hub spacing down here, 110 millimeters versus 100. That gives you a sturdier bracing angle. Same thing in the rear, 148 versus like 142, 135. So you get that sturdy bracing angle, and it supports these bigger tires. These are plus size tires, 27.5 by 2.8. The largest plus size is 3 inches, and the smallest is 2.6. That's all considered like plus size. So this is right in the middle. It's a really sweet spot. And this bike, I mean, they've nailed the details. We got Schwalbe Magic Mary tires. Look at those big knobs, a lot of space between them. They're pretty deep. And we come to this rear wheel, Schwalbe Hans Dampf. So there's a little bit less space, and this is going to give you a little bit more traction. It's going to touch the ground in more places, whereas those are going to dig in. So it's kind of neat that they went to the trouble of having 2 different tires. I've got all the information about these back at the website. This one also is using Addic's soft rubber compound versus back here, this is, I think, Speed Grip. So yeah, just wanted to touch on that. Nice rubber slap guard from Velo right here to keep the bike looking really good. We've got a little plastic guide there, so you're not going to drop the chain quite as easily. It might even clear some debris. Narrow wide chain ring up front, 34 teeth SRAM. And then in the rear, this is really a highlight for me, 12 to 52 tooth SRAM Eagle SRAM NX derailleur. And this does have, see, there it is, the roller clutch, that button right there, so you can kind of extend it and lock it. It's going to make servicing this rear wheel a bit easier. We do have quick release up front with that 15 millimeter through axle, 12 millimeters in the rear with a 6 millimeter hex bolt, and we do have provisions for a kickstand right there, so you could add that if you wanted to. Right now we have this precariously perched on a rock, just so we could take some photos and go over this with you guys. A couple of other really interesting little hardware upgrades. Look at these rims, DT Swiss H1900. They've got nipples that interface with those eyelets, right? So it spreads the force out a little bit. Fewer hole, narrower, straight pull spokes, black, really nice. So lightweight, high performance, but still sturdy with those eyelets. I'll love to see that. And then check out these rotors, 203 millimeter. They're e-bike specific. They're designed to be stiffer and handle a little bit more power and weight, which is great because this bike is 56.5 pounds with the high capacity battery in it. We'll get to that in a minute. Quad piston calipers. See, there's 2 pistons on this side, 2 on the other side. Quad piston, giving you a little bit more surface area. Really good cooling setup on this as well. So it's just about strength. It's about cooling, power. That's definitely what you want with a heavier bike when you're doing some off-road, all-mountain riding, which could include a little bit of downhill. Same thing up front, 203 millimeters gives that really big grabbing point. Nice mechanical advantage for descending. Using the Magura MT5 levers, 2-finger adjustable reach, so you can set that up if you have someone with long hands or maybe smaller hands. It's nice that this comes in 2 frame sizes as well. We're looking at the small here, 44. And Joaquin, I think the large was what, 48? 48, yeah. I would personally get the 48 for myself. I have longer, it's kind of like a 30, 31 inch inseam. I'm 5'9", and I've got that seat post raised as high as I could go. Was this 30.9? Do you remember that?
30.9, yeah.
I think so. You know, in case you wanted to upgrade this, I'm used to seeing Kind Shock, but it's a different company on this one, and there's not as much branding. Really nice dropper lever up there. It really feels comfortable. 100 millimeter or 125, depending on the frame size. Nice saddle as well, Sully Royale Vivo. Pretty comfortable. It does have that rounded top. Some of the other Bulls bikes I looked at in past years just felt kind of hard and just too round. This one feels a little bit better, so I like the choice. We've got some Bulls branded plastic platform pedals that get the job done. 165 millimeter crank arms on this versus 170, so you're not going to get as many rock strikes as you're pedaling along. Kind of makes sense to me. And let me think, what else? We got some nice flat rubber grips, locking. These are Velo. The trigger shifter up here, that's also SRAM SX. We've got a single direction high lever, so you click it in once. You can't pull it, it's just push, but then it's 4 steps on the low, so you can really dump those gears if you're heading towards a hill and you want to get into that tallest sprocket in the rear. I think that's pretty awesome. Some of the other SRAM setups I've seen, it only allows a single click, and that can kind of work with the more powerful mid-drive because you don't want to damage the drivetrain. But with Bosch, you have shift detection, and so maybe that's why they went with these levers here. You know, this is a really nice setup, but you don't want to damage it, and when you've got a more sophisticated motor, maybe you have to worry about that a little bit less. I'm going to talk about that drive system now. This is the Bosch Performance Line CX 4th generation eMTB specific motor. Offers 75 Newton meters of peak torque. It's rated at 250 watts, but it peaks above 570, probably in the 600 range. It's very capable. And now for the 4th generation, it's a lot more compact. Just look at physically, the size is very compact. I still think, you know, it's one of the more powerful motors. A lot has changed about this. It used to be 8.8 pounds. Now it's 6.3, so significantly lighter weight. Same Q factor as before. I want to say 175 millimeters, which on a plus size bike like this, you don't want to have like shoe strikes or something on those chainstays or anything. So it's maybe a little bit irrelevant here. The other things that come to mind are that, you know, it's measuring 3 signals. The way that BULLS has implemented it, there's like a magnet on the disc brake rotor that passes a sensor back here versus actually having a little like bolted on magnet on a spoke and then a separate reader. So it's a lot more protected in my opinion. And then back here we've got, with the motor, it's sensing your pedal cadence and your pedal torque, and it's combining those 3 signals over 1,000 times per second for really fluid starts, quick stops. It's not going to feel out of control when you're on the trail, which is nice. And they've moved away from the reduction gearing design of old. It used to be like a smaller sprocket, sort of a proprietary size that would spin 2.5 revolutions for every crank revolution, and I think that's how they generated power. And Bosch has been that way for a long time until their active line motors, the upgraded ones, it's like 3rd generation, and now the 4th generation with performance line motors have a standard size sprocket, which is just nicer. You don't get any drag. It wasn't a lot, but there was a little bit of reduction gearing drag, and when you tried to pedal beyond 20 miles per hour, which is pretty easy to do when you're like descending a big hill, there was, again, just a little bit more drag, a little bit more noise. So this is a lot cleaner. It's more compact. I mean, it's better in pretty much every way. It's lighter. I like to see that. And for me, that's a big plus. You can see the plastic kind of skid plate below the front of the motor. It's very tight. And just the way it's built into this frame, it looks nice too. It's pretty hidden. I guess as hidden as you can get with a big internal battery like that. And then back to the shift detection. So not only is it measuring all those signals for a really smooth natural ride, but when you shift gears, the software and the controllers listening for like your standard pressure of pedaling, and then it's looking for spikes in pressure that would be signaled by shifting, and it eases back a little bit so you don't mess up that drivetrain. So that's really cool. I like to see that. Some other things that are unique to BULLS is we've got some bottle cage bosses. I love that they squeeze those in, and you might get like a side entry cage, but they do give you this magnetic interface, so you could use their Monkey Link water bottle that just kind of like clicks on, it sort of twists on actually, and it's pretty nice. But they're charging more for that. It's more of an expensive upgrade. It does not come with the bike. Same with these lights. These are Monkey Link lights. It interfaces with that seat post collar right here. I'm trying not to knock the bike over. There we go. Really nice. So you could clip that in. You could also get fenders. I haven't actually seen those in person, but I have seen them online. Same thing with this headlight. Clips on, it points where you steer. It's up high, keeps you visible. And, it's a pretty nice light. It actually shines down and illuminates the trail a little bit. And they both run off of the main battery pack, which is great because then you don't have to worry so much about replacing cells and stuff like that. You've got tons of capacity to work with. And this one can actually be aimed a little bit. So again, I'm trying to be really careful here. There we go, got it. See, there's a bolt in the bottom. So you can actually adjust and sort of aim it up or down. That was something I didn't realize the first time I saw it. I was like, man, you're kind of stuck in one position and based on the head tube angle of these bikes. But that's not the case. You can actually adjust it. Nice internal routing with all these cables. It's just a good setup, but again, you do have to pay a little bit extra for those lights. Another thing, this is an air fork, right? So you can adjust the sag for your body weight. We've got compression adjust down here. We have rebound adjust. It's a really nice fork. And then back here, compression and rebound as well. Fox all the way around, black all across the bike. And then back to these lights. The fact that this has like kind of a little bit of side visibility might keep you just a little bit more visible to cars. Maybe you're out for a ride after work and you're getting towards the fall, it gets dark earlier, and then on your way back to your house, since you've got an e-bike, it's going to be easier to get to the trail. You might not have to drive. Just pop those lights on and stay a little bit safer. So I think that's very cool. There's a lot of cool technology on this bike, actually. If you look at this spacer right here, it's kind of a rectangle, and it actually splits. So you can run some cables through. It's going to be a little bit easier. And then I think this is 1.5 inches straight. Normally I'm seeing like 1.8 inches to 1.5 inches tapered. I think they've like upgraded and made that a little bit stiffer and even more sturdy. I've seen a couple handlebars that go to like 35 millimeter diameter. But this is still 31.8, pretty standard. Again, sort of a low rise handlebar. All those specs are back at the site. You can check that out. And then another upgrade that BULLS has done with a lot of their bikes is they've moved the locking core and the charging slot up high versus down low. You used to have to bend over to access that, and I love that they've put it on the drivetrain side of the bike. So if you're laying the bike down on its side, you can still unlock the battery. You could still charge the bike just like that. You don't have to take the battery off to charge it. This is the charger. It's a 4-amp charger. It weighs 1.7 pounds. Easy to toss into a backpack if you're going for a longer ride, but you really don't maybe have to charge as frequently with this bike because it's a really like high capacity battery. This is the Bosch Powertube 625, 36 volts, 17.4 amp hours. When you do the math, it's actually 626.4 amp hours. So, you know, they're being kind of generous, just rounding it to the nearest 5. Really cool battery pack. And I've got the keys right here. Would you mind helping me with this, Joaquin? It's kind of fun to show. They've got a little plastic shield at the bottom. And maybe I want to be on this side just because of the way the lighting is working. There we go. If you can stabilize the bike for a second. There we go. Don't want to have it fall. Those rocks. So there's this like plastic cover, just like this. Whoop. And it's the same plastic cover for all the Bosch powered BULLS bikes. It's black, it's simple, it's lightweight, much lighter than their old aluminum ones that were like paint matched. They always stayed connected to the battery, which is a bit of a hassle. Like at some point, if you needed to replace the battery or if you wanted to borrow a battery from your friend, it wouldn't match the frame or you'd have to take that cover off. It just wasn't as efficient or lightweight as this. So I'm a big fan of this upgrade. You could see that this bike's been ridden pretty hard. It was like a demo bike. There's a little bit of rust on the chain. There's a bunch of dirt and stuff. We were actually tuning up the brakes earlier, and you can see what the dirt's kind of collected down there a little bit, but they're all designed to be highly water resistant and have kind of draining features and stuff, and it is still working very well. ABIS keys, which is great because they can be keyed alike, so you get this little code thing, and you can get a folding lock or other accessories that match. You don't have to have a separate key. I'm gonna just twist this. Okay, let's see, this way, I guess. There we go, and see how it falls out a little bit. And then there's that button right there. You can take it the rest of the way out. This does weigh 7.7 pounds, so it's a little bit more heavy. I think it's 6.7 pounds, so a whole pound less for the PowerPack 500. But with that much capacity, again, you can really go the distance. And the overall weight of this bike, 56.5 pounds. So that's what the battery looks like. You can charge it off the bike with the same interface. There's no like dongle adapters or anything you have to worry about. And then there's a little charge level indicator at the bottom, 5 ticks. I think that's kind of it. I'm gonna do my best with this thing. Oh yeah, give you a little close up of the guts of this bike. Could just line it up. Now go, there we go. Always fun to do these things on the fly. There we go, now we can take the key out. We got it, guys. So that's an overview. I think it's kind of neat that you could actually take the battery out and just put this cover on, and you've got yourself like an acoustic bike, and it's supposed to just freewheel. When you pedal, there's no drag or anything. Yeah, it's heavier than a traditional bike because you've got a 6.3 pound bottom bracket versus, I don't know, a pound, half a pound. But yeah, it's still possible. So there we go. Line that up a little bit. Push this in. There we go. Click it on. There we go. Feeling pretty good. It looks nice too. I think that's it. I was going to go through the display. Do you feel like I've missed anything or any other highlights on this bike, man?
So the actual C-pose is from Limotech itself, and it actually won the Eurobike award this year.
Oh, Limotech. Yeah, because to me it was like kind of a new brand.
Right. And then, yeah, they're doing pretty good. So
interesting. Is that why you guys chose it?
that's what we chose it, and that's what we are going to continue with for.
Wow, for all the other?
Not all of them, but for some newer models coming up, yeah.
This seems like one of the highest end models in your lineup for the mountain bikes this year. Is that true?
It'll be this one and also the eStream AM4 and the AM3, so it's pretty comparable to it.
Okay, what's the one over here that you got?
That's the eStream AM4 there.
Okay, and that one's using the Brosa S mag motor.
Correct, yes.
Right, so you got a couple choices here.
Yeah.
I love what Bosch has done, but you know, Brose does have a pretty lightweight offering, very smooth. Really interesting to have both of these, and maybe you're kind of bringing me back to a good point here. Bulls has a really broad network of dealers all over the US and in Canada, right?
Correct, too.
Yeah, so you can go in and test ride one of these, check out the two different sizes, make sure you get fitted right, get the maintenance done, 2-year comprehensive warranty on all the drivetrain stuff like from Bosch, and then 5 years on the frame. So pretty good warranty. If you could just keep holding this for a minute, we don't want to drop the bike. I'll go through the display. Been riding fast, getting dust on this thing. This is the Bosch Purion. It's saying update software. We're just going to skip that for now. We've got 4 levels of assist, and it starts off in off. There's a walk mode down here, and that's not going to work until you go into one of the levels of assist. Then you press walk, you can hold plus, and this thing will limp forward, which could be useful if you're like, maybe you twist your ankle, or you meet a friend who's walking, or you're in a steep section you just don't feel comfortable trying to ride up. You could just use walk mode. I think it's great that they've been enabling that. We got eco mode that gives you 60%, tour 140%, eMTB is 140 to 340, up to 75 newton meters of torque, and then turbo is just 340, 75 newton meters, so that's like full on. eMTB is pretty cool because you don't have to worry so much about clicking the buttons while you ride. You could just focus on shifting and just steering and balancing. So that's one of the neat things that Bosch has been doing now for a few years. Down here we got a battery infographic, 5 ticks. Again, it's like, kind of leaves something to be desired. It's just like on the battery, 20% steps. Thankfully, there's this other readout, which I'm going to get to in a second here. If we hold the plus or the minus button, we get trip distance, and then we get odometer total, and then range. So range is what I'm talking about. That's much more precise than like the battery infographic. And depending on the level of assist, you know, it factors in the last mile of riding, which could be everything from like how full the tires are, how much you weigh, what the terrain is like. It kind of does some calculations on the fly. It says, okay, we think you can get 35 more miles based on how you've been riding and how full the battery is. We go down to eco, which in my experience, it basically just takes the weight off the bike. It almost feels like riding a regular bike because you've got a little bit of a tailwind helping you out, 72 miles. So there's a lot of variability here. It's going to vary from person to person, the terrain, everything. Bosch has a really cool like range estimator tool on their website if you're curious for more data. I think on the review, I just say like 40 to 100 miles because it's really dependent on all those features. You could hold the plus button here, and there's a light icon that shows up, and that's how you turn on those monkey link lights. I wonder if we can actually see it. It's just such a bright day. I feel like we're not, you can see a single LED back here and some light pipes. Yeah, turn that off. And if you're someone who wants to go from miles per hour to like kilometers, you just hold minus and tap the power button and it swaps. So it's pretty cool. It's a nice setup. It's small, leaves you plenty of room right here to maybe mount your phone. And Bosch does have like a smartphone interface now that you could use, but on a mountain bike, you could end up destroying your phone. So this is compact, stays out of the way. It does swivel a little bit to reduce glare, but it's not removable. And if we think about like care for one of these bikes, oftentimes I'll take the battery out to reduce the weight of the bike by 7.7 pounds so I can hang it on my car rack or lift it a little bit easier, doing some wheel maintenance or whatever it is, cleaning the bike, storing that battery in a cool, dry location, maybe like, I don't know, a utility room or something where it's not going to get super hot because the heat does impact the lifespan of these lithium-ion batteries. Same thing with if you draw all the way down, that's not really great for it. You want to kind of keep it at 20% or higher, and then if you know you're not going to ride it for a while, keep it about half because that's really like nice and comfortable for the battery. So that's what I've learned over time. That's some of the feedback I've gotten from these companies and stuff. It's kind of a pre-production bike, so you'll notice that the cover doesn't fit quite right and the motor might make a little bit of extra noise. This is a demo bike, so I'm trying to be honest with you guys, but I also don't want to give Bulls like a bad name or something. It's this bike's been ridden for sure, and maybe that's what we should do. We should just hop on this thing, go for a ride. Yeah. Sweet, let's do it. Okay guys, we're gonna go for a little ride. We were just looking out and it's really cool. There's It's like low tide, and this is a marine sanctuary out here. It's a really neat trail if you get the chance to come check it out. As I pedal, I'm going to be in the highest level of assist because that's the loudest and it's sort of the most responsive, and I want to give you an idea of what this is capable of. The motor now gives you greater than 120 RPM of pedal support, which means you can pedal fast if you like to spin, which is what I like because my knee is sensitive. You can pedal fast, the motor will keep up with you. And there are times where I've ridden other bike systems where I'm coming to a hill and I like downshift because I'm going to climb. And so my pedal RPM speeds up, but then the motor couldn't keep up with me. So then I encounter the hill and I can't, and it's struggling. I downshift again and I can't keep up with me, and it can't keep it, and it just goes down where it just sucks. So this is like a way better system. It's nice. Bosch has always offered like 120 RPM with their performance line, but now it's greater than 120, which is kind of cool. I was reading that on their website the other day. Let's do it. I think I'm just going to go in turbo mode at first, give you like the full experience. Oh boy. There we go. I pretty much like hit and topped out on that 120 right there. I'm going to hit some shifts. Oh boy. You can hear that rotor. We were working on that disc brake rotor earlier today, but we just couldn't quite get it to stop that scuffing. Okay guys, we got the SRAM. This is actually, it's eMTB specific X-Sync chainring with narrow wide tooth pattern, 34 teeth up there, and then 12 to 52 in the rear. So it's like a 500-degree range of gearing. It's just awesome, punched out, pretty lightweight, and then that shift detection, just like protecting the whole thing. You're facing down towards the motor. I'm going to be in eMTB mode this time because we are going to go down some rocks and a little bit more like technical, and I don't want to get like carried away. So eMTB mode is a great choice for more technical riding, and it also allows you to do wheelies, which is awesome. So anyway, let's do it. Couple things to notice there. We exceeded 20 miles per hour, 32 kilometers per hour, and there's no drag. It just pedals freely. The motor cuts out because that's class 1 limitation, but it works just fine. Also, this doesn't circulate the chainring backwards, doesn't cycle it backwards. That's the way a lot of these drive systems are working now, but at least there's a little bit of a click, kind of some drag, so you're not gonna like, you know, spin these quite as easily as some of the other systems. So I really like it. Bosch has done a great job. Just a beautiful view. Someone's practicing piano up there in that nice house. And Joaquin is gonna pedal this forward and get some third-person shots. Some nice bird shots too. Look at that. It does feel like flying out here sometimes when you're on an e-bike. Yeah. Oh, there he goes. Nice. Whoa. And look at all these snails. It's almost like a fog fence. Wow, and this house, this must be like a second house for someone. They just like lock it up when they go on vacation. Dang. Oh no. We just went through some thorns, possibly. You doing okay? Looks like we're hanging in there. Okay, I'm gonna hop back on this. So he left me in kind of a high, slow gear, and I couldn't keep up with my knees. But we did okay. Still got some footage. Just beautiful, huh? Hey, buddy, good job. Woo! Okay, guys, I think that's it. We were looking at the Copperhead, which is the name of a snake. So Bulls has like some snake and some bird names for this 2020 lineup. It's the Evo AM3. For the full written review, all the specs and stuff, and a cool comparison tool so you can like pick a couple bikes and see the differences between the two of any brand. I'll see you back at ElectricBikeReview.com, along with the forums and stuff. Chime in if there's something you feel like I missed, or if you want to make a comment on the new drive system, or just really anything. And I'll look for you there. Love you guys. Ride safe. We'll see you next time.